Hello everyone, and welcome to a very expensive history lesson. It's so expensive I've even won a shirt. All for you. Singleton. What is Singleton? Odd that, given what the name means, we're actually going to talk about 3 distilleries. 2 of them we're going to get to try. Singleton. Something which is marketed in very different ways all over the world. In the UK, we know Singleton of Dufftown, which is a pretty typical, nice Speyside whiskey. Normally a combination of UK, it's normally a combination of US and European oak. Dullan and Ord, which is sold predominantly in East Asia, specifically Taiwan. We'll talk about that as we develop through. That's normally a combination of like European oak, a lot of sherry. And then Dullan, which again, we don't see that much of. Typically American oak influenced, but all 3 of them are key points of the Johnnie Walker blends. So if you've ever tried a Johnnie Walker and you've never heard of any of those distilleries, you have inadvertently tried not these whiskies, but certainly something from that distillery. The reason we're doing this tasting is because a dear friend and work colleague of mine was able to get hold of these samples for me. A 21 Singleton of Dufftown, a 25-year-old Singleton of Dufftown, a 54-year-old Singleton of Dufftown, and a 38-year-old Singleton of Ord, or Dullan and Ord, as I call it. And as they are whiskies which are used for Johnnie Walker, the biggest selling blend in the world, one of the biggest selling whiskies in the world, their whiskies do go under the radar quite a lot in regards to their single malts, especially given the area in which the Dufftown one is. You know, it's surrounded by Glenfiddich and Cardew and Mortlach and Balvenie. There's a lot of competition in that area. A key thing to talk about with all these whiskies is a lady called Maureen Robinson, who is the malt master, the master blender, the whiskey maker at all 3 of these Singleton distilleries. And in some way or another, in the 40 years she has worked there, 4 decades, she has overseen these liquids in many different capacities. There's a lot to talk about as we go further on in the video, so I don't want to make this too long. I'll try not to make those weird pauses that I do. We're going to jump straight into the 21 and the 25. We're kind of going to do them as a side-by-side profile. They're both 43%. They're both from the same distillery. And the only difference really is the sherry influence as it gains into the 25. But that is the 21 in its nice little bottle. Quick nose of each, quick taste of each, and then we'll move on to the big hitters in the room. So this is the 21 in the glass. I tried to find retail prices for all of these. This one comes in what I could find around £200. I thought it'd be a regular release, but I don't think it is. So we're starting with £200 whiskey. Let's give it a nose. That is a typical sherry-influenced 21-year-old Speyside whiskey. It's very Glenfarclas-like. There's some really nice sherry notes, those kind of marinated fruits. Wafers, caramel, honey, a bit biscuity, the malty, biscuity sort of flavours. Pretty typical, very nice, what I would expect from a 21-year-old from Speyside. 25. Oh, okay, that's a lot more sherry. I assumed it would be more sherry, but that is a lot more sherry. That's like, you know, like the powder you use to make hot chocolate, but with booze. Yeah, dark chocolate, cocoa powder, big on the cocoa. There is a slight kind of apricot, honey note in the background. Bit of ginger too. Nice bit of spice working through it. Okay, let's try the 21, let's try the 25. I've only just realised the tasting part of this video is what's going to take the longest: 21 seconds, 25, 54, and 38. That has a really nice arrival of caramel, honey, and vanilla. It is very Glenfarclas-like. There's not a lot of old Singleton of Dufftown really kicking around. They tend to just be special release bottles. So to have this as like a contrast to Glenfarclas is quite approachable. It is more expensive than Glenfarclas 21-year-old, double, but has a very similar flavour profile. Honey, caramel, the apricot note again. There seems to be a bit of a thing in Singleton. Kind of orange blossomy. And a really gentle finish of, again, malted barley. It's quite biscuity, a bit of coconut. Very, very nice. 25. Heavier, richer, spicier. If you do hear gentle saxophone music in the background, it's perfect verisimilitude for what's going on with this right now. It's jazz too, so it works well. Yeah, heavier, richer, spicier. The smell of chocolate isn't really present on the taste. It is more of like ginger, licorice. Not flavours I would expect from a typical barrel of sherry and bourbon influenced 25-year-old Speyside whiskey. Really nice finish on it. It's actually a lot nicer than I thought it would be. Again, the price on this thing, it comes in around sort of £500 a bottle. That's from what I could find online. No retailers seem to currently have it in stock. Again, I thought they'd be regular releases, but they're sadly not. I'm going to move this hand because I keep banging my watch on this counter. Yeah, bigger, spicier. Has a mellowness to it, but it's certainly something different from Singleton of Dufftown than what I thought it would be. I thought it'd be a little bit kind of impasse and like a bit but it's genuinely quite nice. I really like the finish. So those are the two introductory whiskies done. And now we have to talk about these two. One thing I didn't do was hold this up to the camera so you can see like the cool little label on it. That's the 25. Nice little label. So the 54, how do you start talking about the oldest, most expensive whiskey that Diageo have ever released? It's a long story, but I've been going over the script for this for like 3 days. Yes, we do have scripts. This all starts back in 1966. And back then, ordering casks was not as easy as you think it would be, and no one really kept records. So jumping to the punch with this thing, we know that it is a second or third refill European oak cask. For 53 years of its life, it has spent it in the second or third fill refill European oak. For the last year of its life, for that final 54th year, it's been in a seasoned Pedro Jimenez sherry cask, which has allowed a greater element of depth and just like a ripeness to arrive with it. But when you'd order casks in the 60s from Jerez, anything could turn up. You could walk into a shop and you could get Talisker from Amoroso and Oloroso, or Lagavulin from Pedro Jimenez or Amontillado. You didn't really know. So that was always an issue. And, to think about time that this has spent in a cask, I've not been alive for 54 years, but just think about the historyscape of that. From 2021 all the way back 54 years, a lot has happened, and this stuff's just been sat in a wooden barrel just doing its thing. Prior to this, there was a 53-year-old. They're both part of the Paragon of Time series, the two oldest and most expensive whiskies that Diageo have ever released. This comes in a smidge under £29,000 a bottle at £28,850. It's a lot of money, and as I was saying to the cameraman, Ed, beforehand, it's a lot of money to spend on a liquid. I fully understand that. Everyone has their own special bottle, right, that you aim for. This is one of the big ones. But I suppose if you put it in like the analogy of a car, like a Ford Fiesta can get you from A to B, but, a Ferrari or a Lamborghini does the same thing, but it should do it in a nicer fashion or a more exciting fashion. It's all natural colour. There's 235 bottles in the world of it. The 21 and the 25 are both 43%. This is cash strength at 44.1, as is the 38. Quite a colour difference. I've not poured loads because I want to share these with people. So there's only 1 CL in there. But let's smell. Amazingly, there's still apricots and oranges. Like kind of, like scented hand cream, those kind of smells of like apple blossom, cherry blossom, orchid blossom. It doesn't smell old. I know that's an odd thing to say, but it doesn't smell like a half a century plus whiskey. And that PX is doing a lot of that, really providing just some fullness, revitalizing a bit of the character of this. Would I describe it as a sherry bomb? Maybe. It doesn't have that kind of fruitcakey, chocolatey thing that I associate that much with sherry. It is more these fruits, these citrus fruits, these stone fruits. Manuka honey. Really thick, weirdly expensive honey. There's even a touch of like lime in the back of it, like a kind of citrusy zing. Well, I'm going to take a sip of this for the first time, while you enjoy some saxophone jazz and 54 seconds of me being silent. Not quite 54 seconds, but still the flavour. The arrival is like old cognac, tobacco, raisin, I suppose more of those typical sherry notes coming through. The scent that kind of goes through your sinuses when you're chewing on this thing is like old leather. It's like old leather belts and shoes, really old books. I know that's quite a cliche thing to say about old sherried whiskey, but my God, it's true with this. The finish has got one of my favourite notes ever on it, and some of you might not know what it is, but I'll get to that eventually. Going back to that scented hand cream thing of like orange blossom, there's a beautiful rosewater note in the middle of it, almost like Turkish Delight, the jelly inside Turkish Delight. Not overpowering. The finish is so gently drying, I'm only just starting to feel it. Like my tongue wants to kind of get to the back of my throat and kind of just clear off some of the viscousness of this liquid. The finish tastes like dandelion and burdock, which is, I think you probably get it like outside of the UK, but it's made of dandelion root and burdock root, and it's like a soft drink in the UK, and it's a pretty big thing where I'm from in like Manchester, but the finish is dandelion and burdock with these scented orangey, rosy Turkish Delight apricot notes. There's a tiny bit of chocolate, the tobacco, the patinaed leather, the old things. First time I've tried that. I've resisted trying that for about a week. And the finish that is still going on and on and on and on and on. Yeah, it's a very expensive product. It tastes incredible. Does it taste like nearly £30,000 on its own? No, because what does £30,000 taste like? Many different things. You can do a lot with £30,000. But if you have the money, I mean, I think this bottle is sold out now in the UK. I'm pretty sure it is. Some people have enjoyed it to quite a degree. What a product. 54-year-old Singleton. The final one. Now it seems odd, right? 12, 25, 54, then 38. I've put the 38 here for a reason. One was that it was recommended, and two is that this is one of the most unusual whiskies I've ever come across in many different ways. 21, 25 and 54 are all from the Dufftown distillery. The final 38-year-old is from the Dullan and Ord distillery. This is 49.6%, I believe, and you can see the slightly different labels. The Dullan and Ord distillery has this little fish on the top of it, quite distinctive, whereas Dufftown has, oh no, they both have little fishes on them, my mistake. Anyway, I thought it was just the Dullan and Ord. Up in Inverness, we'll just sort of, I think it's just west of Inverness. So significantly further up in the country, and older Dullan and Ords, from what I can see, have been compared to Clynelish quite a lot. They have this waxiness, they have this spiciness to them. They're not peated, as far as my knowledge goes. This particular brand does very well in Taiwan. I think this bottle was originally launched in Taiwan as a 38-year-old, 1,600 bottles, 8 different casks, £2,000 a bottle, so quite expensive again. Only 10% did the previous one, or just under. But the most interesting thing about it is that for 12 years of its life, the first 12 years, it is in ex-American oak. And then what is quite possibly the most extreme use of the word finish, it's the second longest finish in Diageo's history. I don't know what the first is, couldn't find that, but for the other 26 years, it was transferred into Pedro Jimenez. So for nearly as long as I've been alive, this has been on its secondary maturation, which is quite a crazy thing to be able to say. I've tried a little bit of Dullan and Ord in the past. They were younger, 11 years old-ish, in like refill bourbon casks. So lemony, fruity, nothing quite of this style in this age. So a 38. Taking a bit of time just to coat the glass. I'll try rolling it to see if we get any sort of legs or anything. All you can see is probably my little fingerprints. That's not even falling from the glass, which I suppose gives you an idea of the viscosity of the thing. Smell. Oh, that's weird. In a good way, you know, like when whiskey drinkers say, oh, that's weird, but it gets everyone kind of perked up a little bit. That's got this really funky, like Jamaican rum thing going on with it. It hasn't been near rum casks, but it smells like Hampton rum. The keynote I'm getting from that is like this funky banana note, kind of like fermented-y, overripe banana. And weirdly enough, loads of malted barley. It smells kind of gristy. Orange skin, kind of apple skin, pithy, skinny, citrusy stuff. And I kind of get the Clynelish thing too. It's just starting to fall down from the glass. Hopefully I'll put that in the right shot so we can pick it up. But it's just started to fall down the sides of it. But yeah, those waxy citrus notes. A bit of coconut kind of dips its toe into being a little bit exotic. Yeah, coconut cream. Taste. My God, that's dry. Woo. Spicy and dry. See, the weird thing is I've actually tried that one before and it tastes totally different to how it does now. That is unexpected. Okay, there's loads of weird stuff going on with this. The smell is incredible. The taste is the most deceiving thing I've ever come across. It starts off like kind of jolly and nice, and it's like, oh hi, here's all these like fresh little sweet fruits, like little foam candy bananas, and like a little bit of funk, a little bit of like, ooh, what's that? Like a Springbank Bruichladdich Hampton rum funk. And then out of nowhere comes this barrel spice. It like hits you around the side of the mouth. And it literally builds on the right and covers all the way to the left. That is insane. It's not even like, it's not chili spice dryness. It doesn't make you want to cough or kind of like freeze, but it just hits you out of nowhere. Behind that dryness is flavour. It is, again, more citrusy skins, waxy, Klein leashiness. Not peat, like a barrel char, like a warming, toasty sort of barrel char towards the end of it. I'm realising this video is dragging on quite a bit, so I'm going to have one final sip of the 38, and then we'll sign off on it all. Yep, ready to go. It's so dry. The only thing I've tried that was as dry as that was like the Cavalan Vino Barrique, which won best whiskey in the world. And that was dry. That was kind of like offensively dry. This is nearly there. But it pulled every ounce of moisture out of my tongue. Got to imagine those PX casks were European oak, because that is dry. And it's only really European oak that does that. So there we go. 21, 25, 54, and a 38. I was thinking about scoring these things, but I think it's a little bit, not pointless, but at the minute, the only one that's available for anyone to buy is that, which is £2,000 a bottle. This isn't available currently. This isn't available currently. I don't know if any of this is left. If you are watching this and you've got £28,000 spare to spend on a bottle, that's a pretty good one. So yeah, there's no real scores. They're all quite interesting. In all honesty, the 25 was a welcome surprise. The 21 was like pretty approachable for a nice Speyside 21-year-old. That tastes incredible. It genuinely tastes incredible and has layers and multitudes in it which are difficult to put down in a video which is slowly approaching 20 minutes long. I will do some notes for this on like the Instagram page. This is Whisky Wednesday. It's in like the biography box. You'll see it tagged. There will be notes for all of these individually. And then this thing, which starts off all like, oh, hi, I'm really nice, and then just like choke slams you to the ground with dryness and intrigue and really bizarre flavors in a good way, in a way that makes whiskey drinkers excited. And I suppose, in a sense, they are a showcase of how diverse the Singleton range can be. But by all means, there's a couple of thank yous. Thank you to Diageo for bottling them. That's really cool. Natalie McLaughlin, she will be tagged on the Instagram and many other things, Twitter no doubt as well. Thank you for being able to get these to me. And thank you as well to Colin Dunn and Joe Last, who did like a little training video to a degree to kind of give me the lowdown on all of these. What a pleasure, what a thrill. Thank you all for watching. This is £30,000 Wednesday, and I will be with you all next week. Cheers.